that. Let's actually turn the shade. It's dark. Lights. Oh, I got some light. Okay, let's do it. Let's lock this room and let's get recording. And let's share this screen. Share screen. Welcome back, boys and girls. All right, here we go. So I am at the grammar, defining and non-defining relative clauses. And I'm going to copy the link, put it in our chat. For good measure, I will put the participants up here too. Make sure everyone's here. Okay. All right, so we're going to try to go through these PowerPoints. I think we've done this before. We're going to do it again to review. Start with number 1. Okay. All right. Here we go. Nouns. Nouns are people, places, things, and ideas. And sometimes we want to provide information for nouns, and we use adjectives. And sometimes we can use entire sentences to describe nouns. Let's take a look. So relative clauses. A clause is almost a sentence. A clause doesn't necessarily have to have a capital letter at the beginning and a full stop at the end. A clause must have a subject and a verb. So all sentences are clauses. Not all clauses are sentences. So if we take a look at this sentence here, I like my friends who know me well. There are 2 clauses, 1 sentence. You see 1 full stop, 1 capital letter. However, you also see 1 subject, 2 subjects, 1 verb, 2 verbs. So there are 2 clauses, 1 sentence. In contrast, you see 2 sentences here. I like my friends know me well. So you see 1 subject, 1 verb, 1 capital letter, 1 full stop, a sentence, and a clause. And here you see capital letter, subject, verb, full stop, a sentence, and a clause. Okay. So up top, we see 2 sentences, 2 clauses. On the bottom, we see 1 sentence, 2 clauses. And we use relative clauses to combine clauses to make 1 sentence. And I think we pointed out that the trick is to combine the same words. So these 2 sentences, I like my friends know me well. They have the words my friends together, or the same, that is, and you can just put them together. So I like my friends My friends know me well. Let's keep going. So relative pronouns, you may want to repeat after me, pronouns are the words that we use to connect the sentences. And the relative pronoun takes the place of a word. Just like we use pronouns like he and she, it, and they to take the place of another word, we can use who, which, that, and whose to take the place of other words. So for example, in this sentence, we use who to take the place of my friends. And as we said in last lesson, who refers to people. Friends are people, so we can use who. So you just have to memorize that. Who is a relative pronoun for people. Here we are. So who is a relative pronoun for people? And you just have to memorize it. So who refers to Sally. And as we said before, the relative pronoun usually goes immediately after the referring word. So if you don't know who is, look at the word or words preceding or before the relative pronoun, and we see it means Sally. So this studio belongs to Sally. Sally is a fashion designer. Okay. Which, you may want to repeat after me, which. Which refers to things. And you just have to memorize this, okay? Mary loves this dress. Which fits her well. What does which refer to? This dress. So this dress fits her well. Are there any questions thus far? Any questions? Okay, thank you, Ken. Okay, that. That can refer to people and things, and you just have to memorize it. Okay. So that can mean people and things. So that, people that have dry skin, so that refers to people made by products that add moisture. Now question, how many clauses are in this sentence? I'm going to get to your question after this question, Benson. How many clauses are in the sentence? People that have dry skin made by products that add moisture. Just type me a number. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, Carmen, great. Nice job. There are 3 clauses in this sentence. Now, there's only one sentence, boys and girls, because you see 1 capital letter and 1 full stop. 1 sentence. But there are 3 clauses. So you see, people may buy products. That's 1 clause. People have dry skin. That's the 2nd clause. Products add moisture, 3rd clause. So actually, the person combined 3 clauses to make 1 sentence using 2 relative pronouns. That. Now, Benson asked a good question. Who? Who is neither singular nor plural? That is neither singular nor plural. So relative pronouns, who, that, which, whose, do not convey number. That is singular, one or many. Just doesn't mean anything. Who doesn't mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. It just doesn't mean, it just doesn't convey that. How do you know it may be one or many? I think you have to look at the verb have, add. That may convey number. Okay, that may convey singular or plural. Did I answer your question, Benson? Who doesn't mean singular or plural? People is plural. Okay. So in this sentence, that means people, and people is plural. In the same sentence, this, that means products. Products is plural. But absolutely, who or that doesn't mean singular or plural. If you take a look at the first sentence we saw, who refers to friends, and friends is plural. But then we look at Sally, and in this case, who is singular, because Sally is just one person. Okay, so absolutely, who and that, which, whose are neither singular nor plural. They just represent either singular or plural nouns. All right, so we've seen this before. Whose refers to ownership, and we usually use apostrophes to convey ownership. I have a friend whose brother is a model. So whose means ownership, and we usually use an apostrophe to convey ownership. Right? Relative clauses. Now we're going to talk about defining, and you may want to repeat after me, defining, and then non-defining relative clauses. So we just learned about we learned about clauses, we learned about relative pronouns. Now we're going to learn about 2 types of relative clauses. Okay. Defining. So defining relative clauses, you can use all of the relative pronouns that we learned. All of them. Great. And they provide essential information, defining information. Non-defining relative clauses, which means non-essential, provides additional, unnecessary information. Okay. And in this case, who, which, those. You can remove them from the sentence. So I'll just write it out for you. Defining relative clauses add necessary information. Non-defining relative clauses add unnecessary information. What are relative clauses? Okay. Two types, and they connect sentences. How do we use relative pronouns? Okay, so that's a review. People, things, and ownership. All right. Questions? Okay, thanks, Carmen. Now we're going to defining relative clauses. Defining relative clauses provide necessary information. What's necessary? Another word for necessary is essential. You may want to repeat after me. Essential. And what's essential? To say exactly which person or thing we are talking about. To be specific. Okay. So defining relative clauses help us to be specific. I'll write that down. That's a good one. Defining relative clauses are necessary because they help us to be specific. That is to provide essential details. For example, this is the jacket which I like the most. Boys and girls, Dr. Wu owns a jacket. You own many jackets. There are so many jackets around the world. Which jacket are we talking about? Okay, so I'll say it again. You own a jacket. I own a jacket. There are so many jackets. Which jacket are we talking about in this sentence? That's why we use a defining relative clause, because there are so many jackets. This jacket, that jacket, that jacket. We have no idea which jacket we're talking about, which is why we add the relative clause to be specific. Okay. Reduce this in size. Okay. So you don't remove a relative clause. And this goes back to what I was just saying. If you remove the relative clause, we have no idea which jacket you're talking about. You may know, but the person listening to you or reading has no idea. You want to help the listener, help the reader understand, which is why you put in information. You want people to understand you and what you're talking about. You want to be understood. And that's why we add this additional information to say which jacket, so the listener or reader isn't confused. We want people to understand. That's why we use defining relative clauses. And we see people, we can use who and that, things, which and that, possession, whose. We've seen this before. So you see, there are so many young girls. There are many young girls in 4A. This might be a young girl. Which young girl are we talking about? And so we can be more specific and say the young girl that loves taking selfies, who is also named Sally. Okay, now this is a little tricky. This is like a star. a star slide. When we use defining relative clauses, we can leave out, that is, omit, remove the relative pronouns who, which, and that in a relative clause when we're referring to the object. Okay. So let's take a moment right now. What two sentences make up Tom is a friend I like chatting with? What two sentences compose Tom is a friend I like chatting with? Can you type, please? Please type your answer. Gosh, what is this? Come on, boys and girls. Let's see. Just write out two sentences. Tom is a friend I like chatting with. It's one sentence, two clauses. Now, can you write the two sentences? Okay. You're close. Ken and Carmen, Tom is a friend. I like chatting with Tom. You're close, yet I don't think you understand yet. Who and that. Who and that refer to a friend. It doesn't refer to Tom. This refers to Tom. You're very close, Ken and Carmen. Tom is a friend I like chatting with. Very close. One more try. Tom is a friend I like chatting with. Ken, you're still confused. You just gave me the same answer. Negative. Yes, Carmen. That's right. Tom is a friend I like chatting with a friend. Boys and girls, I'm going to say it one more time. I'll remind you. Who or that refers almost always to the word or words before the relative pronoun. Okay? That's all. That's all you need to know. Who or that, the relative pronoun refers to the preceding word or words, the before words. Let's see if we can't do that again. So, who or that refers to a young girl, not who just happens to be Sally, but who or that actually refers to a young girl. Similarly, which refers to the jacket. Okay, so which precedes or comes after the jacket. All right. Okay, so Tom is a friend I like chatting with a friend. Since the common word in the two sentences is an object that is at the end of the sentence, when you combine the sentences, you can omit the relative pronoun. I'll try to type it out. Since the common words, a friend, in the sentences are objects, word in the sentence are an object in the relative clause, we can omit the relative. So again, this is, you don't have to do this, but it's good to know so you're not confused when you read. Like whenever you write, you don't have to do this. But you should know this because when you read or when you listen to things, people will just leave out the relative pronoun. And if you don't understand this, you will be confused. So again, let's try this again. What two sentences compose Sarah likes the dress you're wearing? Can you type it, please? Let's see if we can't write these two sentences well on the first try. Benson, you're close. The first sentence is correct. The second sentence is incorrect. The second sentence is not a sentence. Think about that. A sentence has a capital letter and a full stop, but it also has a subject and a verb. So Benson, think about the dress you're wearing. What is the subject and what is the verb in that sentence? Yes, Carmen, that's correct. So Sarah likes the dress you are wearing. You are wearing the dress. So the dress is the object of the relative clause. Now, this is what I want you to do. Recombine the sentences, but start the sentence. Recombine the sentences, but start the sentence with you are wearing the dress. Complete that sentence. Now recombine the sentences and make Sarah likes the dress the relative pronoun. Yes, Carmen. Okay. So that's one possible answer. You are wearing the dress which Sarah likes. That's one possible answer. I think there are two more possible answers. I'll give you one more. And then there's one more possible answer. Anyone? Here's a clue. Think about this slide. What is the purpose of this slide? Do you understand what this slide means? Well, Carmen, yeah, that's one way to do it. I'm talking about you are wearing. There are actually three correct answers. Three correct answers. One, you are wearing the dress which Sarah likes. You are wearing the dress that Sarah likes. You are wearing the dress. Actually, three correct answers. Well, there are three correct answers, boys and girls. I'm just letting you know. I'm not going to tell you what the third correct answer is. Now, here's something important too. You can't leave out whose. You can't do that. Wrong. Vincent, that's a nice try. You are wearing Sarash, whose like dress? Negative. It's a good try. But again, whose refers to possession. Okay. I write the two sentences that compose I met a lady whose clothes are all yellow. Can you write the two sentences, please? Okay, Carmen, nice job. You did it. Found it. Great, Carmen. Excellent. Excellent. Dress Sarah likes. Nice job. Perfect. Okay, great, Carmen. Now let's go to this task. So write the two sentences that compose I met a lady whose clothes are all yellow. What two sentences do we combine? Don't want to make too much of a pivot. Anyone? Just type the answer. Good, Carmen. Yeah. So I met a lady. Nice job. I met a lady. Lady's clothes are all yellow. I met a lady whose clothes. Sure, I don't think that's too important. So again, defining relative clauses, they provide necessary information. You need relative pronouns. Oh, here are a lot of examples. And I'm pointing out here, you have who and that. At the same time, you can omit who and that. Here you have which and that. And here you can omit who, which, and that. Here you have whose, but you can't omit whose. You must include whose. Okay. Questions? Okay. Good question, Benson. What is a relative clause? I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint. First things first, what is a relative clause? Okay. You want a deeper understanding, we're going to finish with this. So, there are two clauses in this sentence. There are two clauses in the sentence. This is the jacket which I like the most. One clause is the relative clause. The relative clause begins with the relative pronoun. Relative pronouns are, for example, who, that, which, whose. So, Benson and everyone else, which clause is the relative clause in the sentence, this is the jacket which I like. Type it. I just want to see if you understand what I'm saying. I just wrote a few sentences. Do you understand these sentences? Just type the relative clause. Yes, Benson, that's great. Which I like the most. Which I like the most. Which I like the most is the relative clause in the sentence. This is the jacket which I like the most. Now, rewrite which I like the most to make it a sentence. Okay. Which I like the most is not a sentence. Make it a sentence. Now write it. This might be a little tricky, boys and girls. Which I like the most is not a sentence. Now make a sentence. Nope, it's not this. That's not a sentence, Benson. You're close, but it's not a sentence. Do you see the jacket I like the most? A sentence has a subject and a verb. Begins with a capital letter and a full stop. What you wrote is not a sentence. If it is, what is the subject? You're also close, Carmen. You're really close. You're close. Okay, yes. Okay, I like the jacket the most. Okay. So the relative clause, which I like the most, comes from the sentence, I like the jacket the most. Now, in sentences, many sentences have objects. All sentences have subjects and verbs. For example, he lives, Jesus wept. Some sentences have objects, which are nouns. For example, I drank coffee. I ate spaghetti. So the object of the sentence, I like the jacket the most, is the jacket. I'm trying to go back to your point. So when you combine two sentences and the same word is an object in one of the sentences, the sentence that will become the relative clause, then you can omit this. So Benson, to answer your question, you can omit the relative pronoun when it refers to the object of the relative clause. Except if it's whose. That's what I mean. And it's a little sophisticated. I think even native speakers would have problems understanding this. And it's not necessary to know when you write, but I think it's important to know when you read so you aren't confused. Okay. Did I start to answer your question? You need to know subjects, verbs, and objects in sentences. Then you need to know clauses in sentences. 3, you need to know relative pronouns and relative clauses. 4, you need to know how to omit relative pronouns and relative clauses. So those are the 4 levels that you need to know. If you don't know what a sentence is, what a subject, verb, and object is, you're probably at level 1. And there's no point in learning about clauses. If you know what clauses are, then you can perhaps learn about what relative clauses are and relative pronouns are. That is, this grammar item is appropriate for you. You're at the level. This is like level 3. And at the same time, within this PowerPoint, there's level 4. So I suspect a lot of you guys are at level 2. You have an idea of what a clause is. But if you don't really have an idea of what a clause is, I suspect that this PowerPoint, this lesson was way too hard for you. and I'm sorry about that. But this is the last grammar item in Form 4. It's also, I think, the most complex. Even native speakers will have difficulty with this. Okay. I think you're fine if you're at level 2. You know what a clause is. Any questions? I actually want to write that down. Okay, I'm going to take attendance now, and then we're done. So, one moment, please. Done a great job today, guys. Type the reason which situation we can omit the relative pronoun. Okay, you can omit the relative pronoun when it refers to the object of the relative clause in a defining relative clause. So again, boys and girls, there's no point in understanding what Dr. Wu just wrote if you don't know what a clause is. I need to take some attendance. And you might want to review the slide we just reviewed. Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. So I think in our next lesson, we'll try non-defining relative clauses, which are different. But again, if you don't know what a clause is, boys and girls, all of this is going to be confusing. This entire week will be very confusing for you. You have to figure out what a clause is. All sentences are clauses, not all clauses are sentences. Okay. Now I'm going to pop this out. Today, 0930. While I'm doing that, please type whether you understand defining relative clauses. 100%, 75%, 25%, or 0%. Can you type that, please? Let me know. 100, 75, 25, or 0. Mika, you're here. Welcome. Oh my gosh. I'm amazed. Welcome back, Mika. Jangly, you're here. Ken, Genia, Moon. Yeah, that looks hard. Yeah, just type it. I'm almost done taking attendance. I'm sorry. Keeping you a little bit late. After that, we've got Tommy, Timothy, Kathy, Carmen, Nancy, Kathy, Kaylee, John, Chloe, Nancy, Jack, Cherry and Henry, Walter, Andy, Bobby, Adam, Benson, and Rob. Great. Thanks, guys. Okay.